And welcome. It's so exciting to be back, and I'm looking forward to our next series of Wednesday Lives on transforming MS naturally. And uh, I love sort of the process we've gone through with this group over the last year, and I took some time to reflect on it over Christmas. And it's hard, isn't it, to understand the natural healing model. I'm a naturopathic doctor. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Teri Jaklin, naturopathic doctor and also certified functional medicine practitioner. And transforming MS naturally is really different than our current medical model. And I've made it my mission this year to help you understand that and help you to know how to dive into that, and uh, move on with options that you aren't always given. We get into that fear mode, and we get going down rabbit holes, and we think what somebody else is taking might be the natural solution, but it's not always like that, is it? um, I want to also share with you something super exciting. Right around Christmas time, we finished off our um, 10 weeks to transform MS. And that is a program that I've put together for people uh, who to live a good life beyond the diagnosis. And it was really awesome. I don't know how to put it any other way. It's the first time I've taught this particular format. I've been teaching and lecturing for decades, but this was really satisfying for me, and the feedback I got was pretty awesome too. And I think the best compliment was that 75% of the group, it's a small group, it's an awesome situation, but 75% of the group has already registered to go through it again on our March the 6th cohorts. So it doesn't mean there's not room for you if you want to join us. I've still got 9 spots available for that. But it was very satisfying. It's a live program. It's twice a week a lesson, on Mondays, and then on Thursdays, the real magic happens in the group where we have a discussion, an open mic kind of discussion group. So if that's something you're interested in, you can. I haven't started to market it very much right now, but you can jump over to www.transform.ms and take a look at it. It's all about helping you build a solid foundation that's going to serve you for the rest of your life with MS. And that's all part of the journey, isn't it? And the journey is what we're going to talk about tonight. Um, Creating a journey that works for you specifically, because healing, recovery, health maintenance, dealing with whatever it is you're going through right now is not a linear approach. It's not a check the boxes and you're done kind of way to deal with health. And understanding that a diagnosis of MS is something that's going to be around for a while is important, and that makes it super important to have a strategy or a process, and that process, that strategy, becomes your journey. Excuse me. So once you have the awareness of a diagnosis with MS, it's not something you can unlearn. So it's not something you can turn your head on. You can't stick your fingers in your ears and go la 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 la, and it's gone. So we need to be able to face that with confidence and live a great life beyond the diagnosis. Because what happens right now? What happens is you probably have had symptoms for a while. You go see the neurologist who confirms a diagnosis of multiple sclerosis and basically hands you some brochures for pharmaceuticals that you can pick from, and basically tells you there's nothing else you can do. And that's it. So you're kind of left marinating in this diagnosis. And then reality kicks in and it gets scary, doesn't it? It's you start thinking about the future. You start wondering what's going to happen. What could possibly what could be in store? What's going to happen to your life? What's going to happen to your career, your relationships? What are you going to tell the kids? How are things going to work with your husband and your friends? And then that sort of fear factory starts churning away in your brain, and all you can see in that future, in that fear rather, is a future that's lost to the diagnosis. So with that fear, what do? You do what everybody else does nowadays. You either pick up your phone or you get on your laptop and you start Googling. And that can be really scary because there's so much information. And sometimes it's conflicting. You don't even know what to believe. You don't know what's relevant to you, and you certainly you don't know where to start. And so what I see is I see people do one of two things. They either start buying supplements like crazy because that's the model we're raised in, right? We're raised in a model, and I'm not criticizing the model. I'm just saying if you've got a symptom, you take something for it. So we're trained in that model. So we look for things to take. We look for things to take to fix the symptoms, right? So um, we are basically investing our hope in the benefit of a bunch of supplements, and that it's greater than the detriment of a process that's going on that you don't understand because nobody's explained it to you before. So that's the first thing you do. Jump on the internet. The second thing a lot of people do is nothing. They're frozen in fear. And that's called denial. And denial simply isn't a strategy, right? It's a way to keep you from moving forward and from embarking on your journey. So you need a process, you need a strategy, and that strategy or process that actually becomes your journey. So you can jump in the chat, you can say hello, and you could also tell me where you're at in your journey currently. Are you just starting out? Have you been diagnosed for quite some time and you're restarting? People are in different places, but having understanding your journey, understanding that process and that strategy is super important. So I've spent a lot of time over the years. I've seen thousands of people. I've been in private practice for 20 years now. So I've spent a lot of time analyzing what it is people need. What kind of direction do they need? How is that process best laid out for them? And oh boy, I've done all kinds of models and scales, and here's my latest one. And this is the one I'm going to share with you today. I'll post it in the group and on my page later, just for fun. But I want to go through it with you because a journey is, we want to move in a direction. So we've already talked about sort of where we are with a diagnosis or in a situation where you don't have a plan. And that is a place of fear. That is a place of uncertainty. That is a place of being overwhelmed. And that's when we focus on the symptoms because we've lost sight of anything greater than the symptoms. Where we want to move toward is living a life with some health confidence so that every time your elbow tingles, you don't go into a tizzy about, oh my gosh, is this the MS getting worse? Do I have new lesions on my brain that are translating to the tingling in my elbow, right? So we want a bit of health confidence so we can look at that a little bit more logically. We want to be prepared with a plan so that we can assess that ourselves and know when it's time to get help. And we want to be actively participating in life. And once again, living beyond that diagnosis of MS. So there are 3 steps in this model. And like I said, I'll share it for you. But they are illuminate, initiate, and integrate. So this is sort of the path or the journey as I see it. And even this doesn't happen in a linear fashion, right? There's a lot of jumping around in between the things, as you'll see on your own journey. But the first one is illuminate. And illuminate is about casting light on the situation, coming to understand, getting clarity, being able to see what's going on. And that results in body wisdom. That results in understanding the process of MS. So you're not just chasing down whatever the most aggressively marketed supplement is right now. It's about being able to say, no, thanks, that's not for me. You know, it's about building the wisdom, creating an empowered understanding, right? Then we can initiate the things that make sense, the things that are relevant, get them going in our lives. Understand that these are the foundational things and these are the variable things. I've always, whenever I work with people one-on-one, when I'm looking at my treatment strategy with them, it's what am I doing that is supportive and what am I doing that's corrective, or what are they doing that's supportive and what are they doing that's corrective. And it's always got to be a balance between the two. Sometimes, for example, if you're having an active flare, you want to be more corrective. Doesn't mean that supportive stuff goes away. It just means you dial it up a bit and then you dial it down again, because you don't always need to be at that level. But it's that teeter-totter between corrective and supportive, but initiating things that help your body deal with the information that you learned, that body wisdom. You know what's going on, so you're initiating things that help you deal with that, right? And then the concept of integration is about making these things last. So getting them into your routine. You would never leave the house in the morning without combing your hair and brushing your teeth. So those things are integrated into your life, right? So this is a way to integrate all of the things and the wisdom that you're learning into your life so that health becomes a lifestyle. It's interesting when one of the comments that I got in the feedback from the program was, you know what, we just spent 10 amazing weeks together, a group of people with MS, and we didn't talk about MS. We talked about health. And that is a fundamental difference between our current medical model and a naturopathic medical model. Our current medical model is built on pathology. That's what they do, and that's what they do well. They identify symptoms and they treat symptoms. In naturopathic medicine, we want to know where those symptoms came from. We want to know what's going on in the body. So we want you to connect. We want to connect with that body wisdom. We want to get to the root cause of the problem and stimulate your body's own healing resources. So that's the integration part of that. And you are resilient. You are supported at this stage because it's part of who you are, right? You're driven by a hero mindset, and you have a whole new approach to life. So that's kind of what a typical wellness journey would be. And that's a model that you can adapt to your own experience as you go through this, right? So, people are trained. So in our current model, so what's going on currently is people are trained to want to get from one side of that model to the other super fast, right? And then they want everything to be over with when they get, they want that linear equation, and that just doesn't happen. I've spent lots of time working with people and watching people and wondering, why is it some people do so well, and why some people just don't. And the transformation for me, what I observe, comes not from me, but from when they get it, when they take control, when they give themselves permission to be the CEO of their healthcare. Something changes. I'm not kidding you. Once they take that on in a compassionate and aware way, um, that's when the transformation begins, right? And that's when you start to realize what you actually need in your journey. What do I need? Do I need a naturopathic doctor? Do I need a nutritionist? Do I need an osteopath? Um, we always need professional input, uh, because you don't go to school for 10 years to be a doctor or a chiropractor or a naturopath or an osteopath. And that's okay. It's okay to reach out for help. In fact, it's a wonderful thing to do. I have my own naturopath, I have my own osteopath, and they're important parts of my journey. I couldn't imagine doing this alone. So I talked about being body wise, and to me, that's super important, that this is not just a scary symptom, it's coming from somewhere. Because in a very simple way, this is a very simple model of MS. MS is all about this inappropriate immune response. That inappropriate immune response causes inflammation, autoinflammation, sometimes it's called, that plays itself out in the brain. We treat it when it's here, when it's at the brain stage, because that's when it gets scary, right? That's when we start feeling the numbness and tingling. That's when the foot drop happens. Those are neurological symptoms. But when we're body wise, we understand that symptoms aren't the problem. And it's actually this inappropriate immune response that we really need to be dealing with. And that inappropriate immune response can be caused first and foremost by food, the state of your microbiome. It could be latent infections like the herpes virus, like Lyme bacteria, like Epstein-Barr virus. It could be the fact that your vitamin D levels are low. And then, of course, the question is why. It could be heavy metals. It could be your detoxification pathways aren't working. So there are a million things that are driving this inappropriate immune response, causing the inflammation that's playing itself out in the brain. But we focus over here at the brain, at the symptoms, when we could be and should be looking at that root cause. So body wisdom always brings us back to what's happening in the body. And I'll fall on the cross of helping people to understand that process of MS. It's actually incredibly complicated. I do that simple model so people can actually get it and run with that, right? But what's happening now is that we're seeing a lot of theories, things that have been labeled theories or hocus pocus even, for the last 20 years are being proven in science. So it's actually a pretty exciting time for people who have MS, because all of that is changing and science is exploding with these new ideas that in many cases have been around for hundreds and in some cases thousands of years. But it's so warming to heartwarming for me to see the two coming together, colliding with you. But what that leaves us with, of course, is what I call this therapeutic gap. And that therapeutic gap comes when all this great science isn't being practiced in our doctor's offices yet. And that could be decades before that happens. So this is where I'm really encouraging you to look for options, to add to your healthcare plan or regime, as you were. So once you've moved the needle, once you've started to see how things can be for you, then you can shift your understanding and your belief of who's in control. Remember, I said that I see for people the transformation starts when that switch goes off and they realize that they are in control of their health. That's what we get when we start looking for options. We start experiencing and understanding that body wisdom and relating to symptoms rather than reacting to them, right? So you're human. You're a magnificent creature having this human experience. And it's important to also understand that you will have good days and you will have bad days, or you may. And I uh, not pray for you because I'm not that particularly religious, but I'll use that terminology. I pray that you have way more good days than bad days. But at the end of it all, you do have input into how many good days and how many bad days you have. So if you fall off the wagon, you can recognize that this is a normal part of life and that it happens to everybody. The trick is not to catch yourself in the self-deprecation or going down that negative rabbit hole, and understanding that you can stop and redirect everything that's going on in your body with the next breath, with the next thought, with the next bite. So there's always an opportunity to pivot and to redirect everything that's going on in your body. Something that I teach a lot on, and it came up surprisingly in every, or maybe not surprisingly, in every single module of the program, is the power of the mind. And that is solidly in the new neuroscience. And I just love that. So understanding that our body responds to every thought we think and every emotion we emote. And it responds physically and chemically, and that we can stop that physical, or we can redirect that physical or chemical reaction in our body with some of the things that I just mentioned there. So our first challenge then is to commit, and to commit to yourself. You know, you've got to ask yourself the hard questions. How important is your health to you? What are you willing to do? What kind of support do you have? And where can you get your guidance from? And and where is it that you feel that you're stuck? What is it you just can't seem to move beyond to get going on your journey? And I really encourage you to seriously make this an exercise today or tomorrow morning or whenever, but take those questions. How important is your health to you? What are you willing to do? What kind of support do you have, and who gives you good guidance? And where and why do you feel you're stuck right now? And sit down and write the answers to that. There's some kind of magic that happens when you pick up that pen and you write those things down. And maybe in doing so, you can set yourself some wonderful goals for 2023. I make 2023 the year of ... And you might think those questions are kind of silly. Um, like, how important is your health to you? What are you willing to do? These are questions that I have asked on my patient intake since the beginning of time, because I tell people that I can't be more invested in your health than you are. So I can't care more about your outcomes than you do. I've had people say, I'll do anything you say as long as I can take weekends off. So, and that just doesn't work. I've had people say, I'll do anything it takes, just don't ask me to stop drinking 24 beers a week. So that's what I mean by how important is your health to you? Because if your health is important to you, there's only one answer to what are you willing to do? And that is whatever it takes, right? So if you don't know where to start, go back to that guidance. Who do you seek guidance from? And if that's a blank, then fill that in. Where am I going to start? Maybe I'm going to start by talking to a nutritionist. Maybe I'm going to start by working with a naturopath. Maybe I need to work with an osteopath to start to feel and be in my body. Wherever you need that guidance, seek it out. Does that sound like a good start to 2023? I think it does. So why don't we make it so? Hello, Lisa. I see you have a question. How to calm it quick, running in November, difficulty walking, fasting, or high nutrition. So that sounds like a bunch of questions there, Lisa. Can you break those down for me? I'm going to address can you just break that down in the chat for me, Lisa? And I'm happy to answer all of them. So I'll say how to calm it quick. So I'm assuming you mean that inappropriate immune response that's causing the inflammation, that's causing the symptoms. That's the mentality that got us where we are today. You know, how do I do things quick? There's no quick fix. So that's where the body wisdom comes in, understanding what's going on in your body for you. So for example, it might be what's driving that inappropriate immune response. Maybe it's chronic UTIs or urinary tract infections. Maybe you've got a heavy metal load you don't understand. Maybe your detox pathways are not good. And, these are all things that, for example, your naturopathic doctor, functional medicine doctor will be able to find out for you in creating your body wisdom, what's going on. So maybe that's what you need to address. Your next question was, which is the best form to calm it? Well, that depends on what it is, right? So the first thing always to do, because the sympathetic nervous system is always involved, is breath work. Always, always, always. Because the body doesn't heal in the sympathetic or stress response. It heals in the equal and opposite relaxation response that's driven by the parasympathetic nervous system. So meditation, breath work cannot be overstated in MS. Multiple sclerosis has been associated with the stress response since it was first named in the mid 1800s. So it is a first line approach to calming things down quickly, if you will. And then diet is right behind that, Lisa. So whatever is going on in your diet, take it up a notch. High aluminum. Okay. Then you need to work with someone who knows how to remove aluminum from your system. I assume that if you know you've got high aluminum, which is a heavy metal, which is associated with neurodegeneration, right? Then maybe you're already working with somebody. But don't mess around with that, because you don't want to mobilize metals without being able to get them out of your body. I'm doing a detox with charcoal and liver detox. Okay. So you're obviously doing that with somebody who knows what they're doing. So if that sounds like, and don't forget, when you do something like that, and if you're mobilizing aluminum, it's possible that that's causing a setback, right? So and this is what I mean about, going down rabbit holes on the internet. Oh, I should be doing this detox, I should be doing that detox. There's a reason why naturopathic doctors are trained for 7 years, why functional medicine doctors are trained and certified. So I would be gentle and safe and understand what your liver is capable of. Make sure that things are being eliminated. And, in my experience as a naturopathic doctor, if you're not using biotherapeutic drainage, you shouldn't be touching metals. But that's a whole separate conversation. Hello, Marianne. Did I answer all your questions there, Lisa? Yeah. Okay, so we've got everything. Marianne, do you have any questions about the journey and the process that you're on? Creating, we've been talking about body wisdom, creating body wisdom, getting to know what's going on in our lives with MS. And, feel free once this is posted in the group or on my page, where it'll be posted on both, to drop in questions that you think of later. So that is the journey. So far, so good. I love the thumbs up, Marianne. So you are actively building and following your foundation to health. You're not sticking your head in the sand in denial, right? What is drainage is a whole nother conversation. You can look at biotherapeuticdrainage.com. It's it's a form of medicine that requires a lot of good training to use effectively, but it's how to detoxify at a cellular level. So that's essentially what that is, to restore normal physiology. So to restore normal function in the body.
What videos can we expect in the next little while?
Yeah, we've got some videos coming up, and so we've got a series. I've got a series of Wednesday lives planned about approaching things from a natural perspective and really understanding that, so that you guys can get the most out of a naturopathic or a natural approach to healthcare, and you don't end up one of these people who's got a suitcase or a drawer or an entire kitchen cupboard dedicated to supplements that you're not taking. Thank you for showing up tonight. And thank you, Marianne, for the compliment. And we'll see you next Wednesday. Take gentle care. Bye bye.